The navigation menu. After two divs with no content, we come to the div called nav, which contains the entire navigation menu from the left of the screen, as in figure 4-7. The Gmail navigation menu. The code that produces this import part of the page is here in listing 4-2. You'll notice when you read through this code that what you look like links, the inbox, start, sent mail, and so on actually aren't. They're just plain text wrapped in spans that provide you enough styling to make them look like links. They underlined, the mouse pointer changes, and so on. This is just another symptom of how cunning the Gmail application is. I'll be explaining all of this in chapter 5, so just so you know. The styling is simple here. After the composed message link, that's not, as I just said, a link in the sense of href is quotes, but rather just a plain text styled up to look like one. There is a table containing only the inbox, link, and new mail count, and then a succession of divs with class n1 containing spans with each of the menu options. Then there's another non-link that to the complex functionality and another table used to produce the label box, which with labels defined, as you will see later. This table has more content. Finally, after the table is a div called ill, containing the invitation link. My bet is that ill stands for the invitation link, but ignorance of such things is the mark of the reverse engineer. As you will have noticed by now, Gmail is built with very small names for all of the divs and spans. This is also true of the JavaScript functions covered in the next chapter. This is because Gmail is serving these pages millions of times a day, and the bandwidth saved by dropping everything down to one or two letter variable names is well worth of the obfuscation. Onward, then, to the real meat of the page. The activity area, right in the middle of the page, surrounded with the blue border, is what I'll call the central activity area. It's in this section that the majority of your work within Gmail is done. Writing and reading mail, for example, it looks like figure 4-8. The central activity area is controlled by the code in listing 4-3. That's a lot of code. And you go. This code is also quite complicated, but working through it is just a matter of looking through the code for the class of its attributes and not noting the tables in the middle. By now you should be quite good at this, so you won't do that here. The next section, after all, provides a map of all of the classes and it you need. The bottom section now, we have come to the last remaining section of the Gmail screen. The bottom of the screen as shown in figure 4-9. Again, the drudge work is left out here. You see only the code and the tradition of software textbooks, the figuring out of the names of the divs and spans within the bottom section is left as an exercise to the reader. Listing 4-4 shows you the code if you want to do this. Or you can skip past listing 4-4 to figure 4-10, which outlines the whole page's structure in CSS. Figure 4-9, the bottom section of the screen. So now you have worked your way through each of the separate sections of the Gmail layout, and you should have a good idea of the structure of the page and how it is produced by the HTML. Why, you might ask, have you just gone through 20 pages of gritty document object model inspection and poring over code? Because, and you have to trust me on this, Gmail's workings are almost entirely contained in that lump of frame sets and JavaScript. Over the majority of the rest of the book, you'll spend your time embedded in the depths of this code, so it's extremely useful to jump off into the deep end, as it were, applying a new style. Now that you've slogged your way through the structure of the Gmail mockup, You can use this knowledge to give the application a new look. First, however, you will need to install another extension to Firefox. You need the URL ID extension written by codes found at http://extensionroom.mos.dev.org/more-info/URI ID. Once that is installed, go to your profile folder. With Firefox, which is the browser I'm recommending for this chapter, the location of the profile folder changes per operating system. Look at www.mozilla.org/support/firefox/edit.html/profile for the official reference. Once inside the profile folder, you will be adding the CSS you are about to write to the user content.css file inside the Chrome subdirectory. Open the user content-example.css file and rename it as user content.css. You can now add any CSS you like and have it affect the pages you are applying them to. You differentiate between the sites you want it to act upon by appending the base URL as a class. For example, the app to apply styles to Gmail, the ID Gmail Google-com will be added to the body. The style sheet can then use the hash gmail-code-google-com selected to apply styles only onto that site. Once the CSS file is saved, restart Firefox and the styles will take hold. Creating Gmail delete. During the course of my working day, I spent most of my time looking at my computer screen. After a while, I yearn for calmer pages with less to focus on. As I use Gmail a lot of the time, it's good to use the knowledge worked out in the preceding text to restyle the page into something easier to look at after a hard day. Figure 4-10 shows this newly styled Gmail delete. As you can see, it's much simpler page layout with no images, a muted color scheme, and without the labels, invitation link, and other superfluous material that just irritates after day's writing. It's the minimalist Gmail whose styles are covered in the next section. Walking through the style sheet, the effects you see in figure 4-10 are simple to achieve with the style sheet, and certainly much more impressive ones can be achieved by someone with more design skills than myself. Begin with the following CSS. This code starts by declaring the background color of the whole page to be white, and then turning off any images by setting them to display none. This CSS command is extremely useful for swapping size of dullness, as you can see after the section giving the links and pseudo links on the page a nice dark blue color. From the previous section, you already know that the Gmail logo and search box are held in a table and a form inside the div called MT1. By setting both of these to display none, you remove them entirely. The next section of CSS is as follows. This section of the CSS file deals with this navigation sidebar. It did look like figure 4-7, but now it's a great deal simpler. The link color change at the top of the CSS takes care of the color. So the first thing you do is restyle the font for the composed mail link. You know that this has an ID of comp, so you set the font-family cursive. This will, in compatible browsers, choose the default cursive typeface. Next, you override the background colors and borders of the menu items, and finally remove the light blue edge of the application area that stretches from the active menu option in the normal view. It's much simpler now. Having manipulated these elements, consider this CSS. These three short sections turn off the labels. The invitation link and the whole footer section were almost Zen-like now. Final stop. The application area. The first thing to notice is that you turn off the bottom button app bar. There's no need to have to. 2. and you have one at the top already, then you recolor the links within the top bar. The next section colors the background of the application white and removes the solid borders. Then you have 2 bits of CSS. You define the background of color of the rows for each message within the mailbox that is being viewed. Within the inbox, these lines of CSS put the gray background behind unread mail and a white background behind read mail. See figure 4-11. Figure 4-11. The new style sheet applied.